Bershus, our Chashuv guest, Chashuv Rabbanim, Kol Shazet, Mr. Storch. This evening, we welcome you to the 42nd Emily O. Storch Memorial Lecture. The Ilui Nishmas Moshe Aryeh and Avram Shraga Feivish. I did not know Mr. Storch. I knew a lot about him, and our families, Diskins and the Storches, were quite close. And there was a very special friendship, a friendship of reverence and respect between Mr. Storch and my Shver Zechrona Livracha. I heard about it many, many times. Two individuals who accomplished so much together for our community. And I am sure that now, 6 months, as of 6 months ago, however it works in the Olam HaNeshamas, that friendship has been very happily rekindled. For this evening, the Storch family often arranges very chashuv people, chashuv rabbanim, anoshim chashuvim, for this drush of Ilu Nishmas, Mr. Storch Al V'Shalom. The few times that I've been up here, I'm always very uncomfortable introducing such chashuv people. More so this evening, for me to talk about our guest, I feel is almost a princess covered. Although I am a small talmid of his through his weekly Parasha Shiurim, which I receive. I will add one thing that is listed on the tzedlach and the advertisements that have been around the community the past few weeks. When Rav Weiss Shlita was a chassan, soon to be married, he was called in by the Kleisenberg Garuv Zechrona Livracha. And at that point in time, he was planning to learn in Kailo after the chasna. And he mentioned this to, I guess the Kleisenberg Garuv knew about it. And he told them very clearly, I don't need you in Kailo. I need you saying a shir. And from there it was history. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands shiurim throughout Eretz Yisrael and throughout the world. This evening's shir is a continuation of that advice, that guidance, that command by the Kleisenberg Garuv to our chashuv guest. Without any further delay, it is a comfort for me to introduce Rav Asher Weiss Shlita, who will speak on the topic of instilling into our children Simchas HaChaim. Weiss.
It's a big schus for me to be here tonight. And before starting what I have to say, let me just ask all of you to have kavanah that the Torah, the chizuk that we have here tonight should be dedicated l'refuah shalema, l'feiga zisel, batzlata tzepoira. 4-year-old girl that drowned a few days ago. She is in critical condition and she needs a great refuah in Yerushalayim. So when each and every one of us thinks and sees the faces of his little children, or little Eneklach, let us daven and let us have chavona that HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the merit of the Torah we are learning here tonight should send a refuah shalema, and this little girl's feiga zisel batzlata tzepoira should have arichas yomim v'shonim with her wonderful family. It has been 43 years since the untimely passing of Reb Moshe Aryeh Storch, known to all of us as Mr. Leo Storch. And since then, every year, we get together for an Erev of Chizuk. What a wonderful tribute to a great individual. Leo Storch was an Eved Hashem, and like every true Eved Hashem, he was an Eved to Hashem's people. Because if you really love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you love his children as well. When you love a person, he would always expect you to love his family and his children. We are all Bonov Shel Elokeinu. Mr. Torch had a passionate love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore he dedicated his life to community service. He was a paragon of a true Eved Hashem and a true Asken. We have known many Askanim that have the drive for Avodas HaKlal, but many of them lack the feeling and the compassion to really feel the individual. We have known many others that devote their lives to chesed, to helping people, but they lack the sense of community and the ability to see the broader picture. Mr. Storch had the capacity and the koyach to see the needs of the community and to feel the desperation of the individual. And that demands a great shleimus. And if I spend one day in Baltimore, I've come for a very short visit, and I'm so inspired and spoiled to see this beautiful community. I visited 2 yeshivas today, and I've met many individuals, and we must understand that beautiful communities and great institutions do not just happen to be. They are not born by coincidence. And there is always someone great that laid the foundation and did the groundwork to bring forth these beautiful communities, and we are the ones to reap what they plowed and sowed. And I think the entire Baltimore community owes so much to Mr. Leo Storch, and we have come together tonight for an evening of chizuk, sheyeh le'ilui nishmosoi hatahora. And let me just say to my dear friend, Mr. Frank Storch, who I've come to know, Baruch Hashem, this is your legacy, and I think you rise to the challenge, and you'll follow in your great father's footsteps. You should keep it up for many more wonderful and healthy years to come, together with your wonderful family. So the topic we are to discuss tonight is Simcha. No more appropriate time than Rosh Chodesh Adar. Today was Rosh Chodesh Adar, Marbim B'Simcha. And we all know the importance and significance of Minhagei Yisrael. There is one Purim Minhag that I could only imagine and assume that will be new and strange to many of you. And even though as a Rav and a Posek, I give tremendous significance and weight to Minhagim, this is one minhag that I do not recommend to adopt. So Rashi in Sanhedrin Daf Samech Daled Omid Beis, when we find in the Gemara a concept, Mashvarte de Puria, Rashi brings that there was a minhag. The kids used to light fires in the pits, in holes in the ground, and they used to jump over the fire. Strange minhag. So I don't have to explain to you why I do not recommend adopting this minhag. But what does it have to do with Purim? Seems totally far-fetched and strange. Lighting fires, jumping over fire. What does it have to do with Mikra Megillah, with Chayav Nishlu Vesume Bepuria? My feeling is this. We all recall the famous sugya. In Shabbos Pei Zayin Pei Ches, that is the most central sugya in the entire Shas, dealing with Mamed Har Sinai and Kabbalah Satorah. And the Gemara says, in the time of Kabbalah Satorah, Kofu aleim har kegiges, HaKadosh Baruch Hu overturned the mountain on top of Klal Yisrael, and he threatened them. If you refuse to accept my Torah, you will be destroyed, you will be annihilated. And Tosfos asks a gewaltige kash. In that same daf, the Gemara speaks about B'shoshe hegdimu Yisrael na'aseh lenishma, which seems to clearly indicate that Kabbalas HaTorah was out of free will, out of ahava, out of simcha. So how do we reconcile these two sugis? When the Gemara says, Kof aleim har kegiges hodor kibluhu b'yamei Achashverosh, it is only in the days of Purim that they once again were mekabel Torah b'yahav. So Tosfos says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kiviyachol was choshesh, was afraid. Yes, there were makdem na'aseh lenishma, but when they will see the fire, they might regret it. They might feel afraid and threatened, and they might retract, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu overturned the mountain, as to indicate there is no way back. Don't look back. There is no way back. I would like to add additional perspective. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes before Klal Yisrael in the desert and says, Kinderlach, I have something else to offer. I have a Torah to give you. Of course they say yes. Instinctively they would say yes. Every day or two they get new privileges and new gifts. Man Slav Be'er Shel Miriam, fresh bagels every morning, fleishige meal every afternoon, mineral water as much as they needed, Be'er Shel Miriam, and Nane Kovid was air conditioned, everything was at its best, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu would say, I want to give you a Torah. Of course they'll say yes. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to indicate and to make it clear, Kinderlach, what I'm giving you now, what I offer now is not just another matana. What I offer now is avdus. It is slavery. Total submission and servitude. Never again for one moment will you be free people. The Torah that I offer has taryag mitzvahs, all-encompassing, machshava, dibur, v'maisa, 24/7. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days in a year. Your actions, your speech, even your thoughts, I demand everything. This is slavery. What is the symbol of avdus? The Gemara in Yevomis Daf Mem Beis says, Mem Vav Amud Beis. When you're matbil an eved la'avdus, and when you buy an eved, he needs tvila. Bahadet $1 reishe memaya amte lezulte detina areishe. When the eved sticks his head out of the water, you put a vessel over his head. And that is the siman, that indicates that the tvila is the tvila of avdus. So it is not coincidence when Chazal say, Kofu aleim har kegigis. That mountain was overturned like a vessel, a huge vessel over the collective head of the entire people, the head of Klal Yisrael. That was the kli, which is a semel for avdus. Being fully aware that this is slavery and servitude. They merely had to look up and see that huge mountain overturned over their heads like a vessel. Ve'afal pikein higdimu na'aseh lenishma. Being fully aware that this is slavery and servitude, afal pikein higdimu na'aseh lenishma. And that is the greatness of Mamed Har Sinai. By nature, a slave wants out. And therefore the Mishnah says, in Gittin Daf Yud Aleph, Schus u'le'eved she'etzim etachas yad rabbi lecheres v'zochen le'yodam shelo b'fonav. Nobody likes to be a slave. Only once did an entire people opt for Avdus, and that was B'Sho Shehegdimu Yisrael Nasa Lenishma. So Tosfos says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was afraid when they will see the fire, they might run away, they might regret. So let us examine how did they react when they did see the fire. What happened? That is a pasuk in Parshas Va'aschana. Ve'hinei hahar boyer ba'eish choshech onon v'yarofel. And then what? V'tikravun v'tamdun tachas hahar. How do people react when they are threatened? When a mountain might bury them and fall upon them? They run out. They look for cover. They saw that mountain. They saw the fire. Nobody ran out. They all pushed in. They all wanted to be part of it. And witnessing that frightening spectacle, we could only imagine. V'hinei hahar boyer b'eish choshech onon v'yarofel v'tikravun v'tamdun tachas hahar. They rose to the challenge, knowing that this is Avdus be'ahava or v'simcha. Higdimu nasa lenishma. And once again, with no coercion whatsoever, that mountain was no longer there. Hodor kibluhu b'yamei Achashverosh me'ahavas haneis. And maybe that is the origin of this strange minhag Purim. The kids light fires, don't run away. They should, but they didn't run away. They light fires and they jump over the fires, playing with fire, to indicate we saw the fire on Har Sinai, and we were not deterred. We were not repelled, and we did not opt out. We were not afraid. V'tikravun v'tamdun tachas ha'esh. That is the minhag of Purim, to light fire and to jump over the fire, to indicate we have been there, we have seen the fire, and we passed the test. V'tikravun v'tamdun tachas ha'esh. So Ma'amad Har Sinai was the simcha of Avdus, and that is the greatest heights Klal Yisrael can achieve. That is the madrega of Moshe Rabbeinu. As we say in our Shabbos Tefillah, Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelko ki eved nemon koros oloi. The simcha of Avdus, the simcha of merely being an Eved Hashem. Many years ago, I heard from the Leiv Simcha, from the Gerer Rebbe, that he heard from his great father, the Imre Emes, that his great father, the Sfas Emes, once said, Sukkahs by the Tish. I look around, I'm not sure many of you speak Yiddish, but maybe some of you do. So the Sfas Emes said, Sukkahs by his Tish, v'mezuk tunu Hashem kemen put in the greste Sachen. When we say Ono Hashem and Hallel, we could achieve the greatest heights. And the Imre Emes told his son there was an argument between Ziknei HaChasidim, the elders of the Chutz. Did he mean Ono Hashem Oshiono, or maybe he meant Ono Hashem Hatzlichon? So the other day in the morning, when they said Hallel and they said Ono Hashem Oshiono, 50% of the Chasidim shouted at the top of their lungs Ono Hashem Oshiono, and then when they said Ono Hashem Hatzlichon, the others got excited and animated. And the Imre Emes said, but I understood that he meant neither Ono Hashem Oshiono nor Ono Hashem Hatzlichon. What he meant was Ono Hashem ki ani avdecho ben namosech. Nobody thought about that. Achabo Avraham, the Imre Emes Avrom Mordechai v'notel schar kulam. So let me give you my interpretation to this beautiful story. So what is so great about Ono Hashem ki ani avdecho? It is only twice in the entire Mishnah Torah of the Rambam that we find the Hagdorah, the definition, Simcha Yisrael. and I say this with all responsibility, it is only twice that we find in the Rambam the combination of Simcha Yisera. Where? At the end of Hilchas Lulav, the Rambam writes, Afal Pisha Kol HaMoedim Mitzvah L'Smoyach Behem. There's a mitzvah of Simcha in every Yom Tov. B'yamei HaChag Hoyso Shom Simcha Yisera. But on Chag HaSukkos there was a Simcha that was uncomparable, more than any other Yom Tov. So Sukkos is a Yom Tov of Simcha Yisera. Where else do we find in the Rambam Simcha Yisera? On Perek Gimel of Hilchas Chanukah, dealing with Halel. And the Rambam writes, Ein oimenem Halel b'Rosh Hashanah v'Yom HaKippurim l'fisha ein elu yamim shel Simcha Yisera. Ele yamim shel emo v'yiro v'fachad. So a Halel should be said mitoich Simcha Yisera. So a Yid stands Simcha Yisera mitoich Simcha Yisera. Simcha Yisera b'kiflayim. Chag HaSukkos when he says Halel. And what does he say? Ono Hashem ki ani avdecha. Let me just note. Ono Hashem hoshiono. Ono Hashem atzlichono is not the same word as Ono Hashem ki ani avdecha. Hoshiono and atzlichono is Aleph Nun Aleph. Ono Hashem ki ani avdecha is Aleph Nun Hey. We pronounce the two words in the same way, but they are not the same word. And the Radak, the greatest Daktakan of the Rishonim, explains. Ono with an Aleph is a plea. It is a bakasha. Please. Ono with a Hey is an expression of gratitude. It is not a bakasha. It is hodaya. Slaves don't usually say thank you. They always have demands. More food, more drink, less work, more sleep, more rest, more time for themselves. Shteit Ayid b'simcha yasera metoich simcha yasera. And all he has to say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, thank you, Hashem. Thank you for what? Thank you for letting me serve. Thank you for having me as an Eved, as a slave. Is anything greater than that? So the Sfasem said, when we say Ono Hashem ki ani avdecho Sukkos and Halal, nothing is greater than Simchas Hoavdas. And that is the most basic Simcha a Jew has to feel each and every day, each and every moment of his life. The manifestation of Simcha Shel Avdas are twofold. We are all familiar with Simchas HaTorah and with Simchas HaMitzvah. When the Rambam writes about Simchas HaMitzvah in the end of Hilchas Lulav, the Rambam writes, HaSimcha sheyismach ha'odam b'asiyas HaMitzvahs u'ba'ahavas u'kel shetzivu b'hein avoido gedoylei. It is a great avoid. And the Sefer HaCharedim writes that he heard from the Ari HaKodesh that all the great madreges the Ari HaKodesh achieved, he achieved only in the merit of Simcha Shel Mitzvah. That is the basis of Avodas Hashem. How do we achieve Simcha? And does Simcha go together with Yira? So Rabbeinu Yonah teaches us in Brochas Daf Lamed Dalet. In the beginning of Perek, Ein oimdem lehispalel, elo metoch koived roish. And the Gemara brings the pasuk, Ivdu es Hashem besimcha v'gilu b'ra'odo. Ivdu es Hashem besimcha v'gilu b'ra'odo. How do we understand v'gilu b'ra'odo? Rejoice in awe. Rabbeinu Yonah comments and explains, in any other endeavor and in any other field of human emotions, fright and joy do not go together. When you are afraid, you cannot rejoice. When you are terrified, you cannot really be happy. Lo chein beyiras Hashem. When we are in awe of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that feeling should enrich and enhance our simcha. How happy and how gratified we should be that we are in awe of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because Yiras Hashem and Simchas HaMitzvah are two sides of the same coin, of Kirvas Elokim. It is only those that are close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that feel His presence that are in awe, and only they feel the ahava and the simcha of servitude, the simcha of being an Eved Hashem. I remember when I was a little boy, I heard a story. And we don't usually have recollections from a very young age unless those memories at the time made a great impression and had a great impact on the way we felt. So as a little boy, I heard a story from my father that there was once a great gadol, and when he bade farewell to his son, and they said goodbye, and they weren't to see each other for a long time, the Rebbe told his son, remember, Shnei Tmidim B'chol Yom. We have 2 Tmidim B'chol Yom. And his son was perplexed. He didn't understand. I mean, it's been 2,000 years since Chorban Beis HaMikdash, and we aren't Makrav Korban Tomid. So what did my father mean when he said Shnei Tmidim B'chol Yom? He told the story to a Talmud Chacham, and he explained to him. The first Sif in Shulchan Aruch HaRachaim, Siman Aleph Sif Aleph, the Rama quotes the Moed Nevuchim, Shavisi Hashem lenegdi Tomid. The last Sif in Shulchan Aruch HaRachaim is Siman Tov Reish Tzadik Dalet, dealing with Purim Katan, the culmination of Shulchan Aruch HaRachaim. The Rama brings the posuk in Mishlei, V'toiv leiv mishte Tomid. Those are the Shnei Tmidim. Shavisi Hashem lenegdi Tomid, toiv leiv mishte Tomid. In due time, I saw somebody brings that was the Gra, and that was the way he said goodbye to Reb Chaim Evolozhin. I think sticks better to the Baal Shem Tov and the Mezritcher Maggid. Doesn't fit in so well with the Gra. Whoever it was. But in my opinion, it's not only a beautiful vertel and a story, it is a profound idea. A most profound yesod in Yiddishkeit. Because Shavisi Hashem lenegdi Tomid is the basis of Yiras Elokim. And that is what the Ramo brings from the Moed Nevuchim, from the Rambam. Einay Doima. The way a person acts when he is in the presence of a king, and the way he acts when he is in his own home. We are always in the presence of the greatest king, of Melech Malchei Hamelach. V'toiv leiv mishte Tomid is the manifestation of Simcha, Yira and Simcha. Those are the 2 yesodes of Avodas Elokim. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu demands not only machshava dibba v'maisa, as I mentioned before, he demands far more than that. Rachmona libe boya, he wants our heart. It is not only what you do, what you say, and what you think, it is what you feel. Kadosh Baruch Hu wants our emotions, and not only our deeds. So the 2 yesodes of Avodas Okeil are Yira and Simcha. Ivdu es Hashem besimcha v'gilu b'ra'od. That is the Shnei Tmidim. Shavisi Hashem lenegdi Tomid, toiv leiv mishte. But as a young boy, when I heard that story, I had an interesting machshava. So in Tfilas HaMusaf we say, Tmidim kisidron u'musafim ke'el chasan. Those Shnei Tmidim have to be with a proper order. You need to start with Shavisi Hashem lenegdi Tomid and then get to toiv leiv mishte Tomid. If you do it the other way around, no. If you start off with toiv leiv mishte Tomid, Very slim chances that you will ever get to Shavisi Hashem Lenegdi Tomit. So those Tmidim have to be Kisidron, with a proper order. But you need both of them. That is the shlemus of an Odom Yisrael. The combination of Yira and Simcha. Simchas HaTorah and Simchas HaMitzvah Yesodus U'Avodah. But I feel in our generation it is more important than ever before. We are living in a changing world. In difficult times, our children are exposed to far more things than we would like to expose them. And not always are we even aware. What they see, what they know, and what they are exposed to. And the kids in our generation have nisyanis that even when we were little children, we did not know. And the only way we could really hope that they will follow in our footsteps is only if we could instill in them a passion and a simcha of Torah and of Yiddishkeit. So, benafshenu hadav. Every day in the morning we say Berachas HaTorah. And Berachas HaTorah contain 3 brachas, maybe 2.5. The first bracha is a Berachas HaMitzvah. And its basic formulation is like any other Berachas HaMitzvah, Shekedeshonu b'mitzvois v'tzivonu. The last bracha is Berachas HaShevach, Asher bochar banu mekol ha'amim v'nosen lanu es Torasoi. Between the two, we have a bracha that we define as Berachas HaTfilo. Abu Darham teaches us that there is a Geder Berachas HaTfilo. What does that mean? Those are the brachas in which we not only give praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we also have bakashas. We also plead with Him for His mercy. So what do we ask for in Berachas HaTorah? V'harevnu Hashem Elokeinu es divrei teroschu befinu. We should be zeicha to the mesikas, to the beauty of Torah. And then we have another bakasha. It is very uncommon that we have 2 bakashas in one bracha. So my feeling is that these are not 2 distinct and different bakashas. They are 2 sides of the same coin. It is only if we have the schus to partake in mesikas HaTorah, in the love of Torah, and our children will witness this passion and love and simcha and pleasure of Torah, that we stand a fair chance that they will wish and will to follow in our footsteps. That we will be zoicha shenihiyah anachnu v'tzetzuenu v'tzetzui tzetzuenu kulanu yoidei shemecha v'loimdei tzerosecha lishma. When children see their parents with a passion and a simcha of Torah and of Yiddishkeit, they are inspired. And it leaves an indelible impression on their neshamas. In my shul, from time to time, sometimes in the middle of davening, I just turn around and look at the people. And I remember once seeing a younger man davening with his little boy standing next to him, and I see that every few minutes he looks down at his son, and he sees he doesn't daven, he gives him a patch, and he keeps on davening. And I was so disturbed and so troubled. After davening, I called him over and I told him, if your little boy is ever going to feel a tam in tefillah, that will be a nesgoli, that will be a miracle. Because in his young mind, he comes to associate the shul with the most unpleasant experience. And we need our children to associate Yiddishkeit with simcha. In their very young and ripe minds and neshamas, we need to give them simchas HaTorah and simchas HaMitzvah and the beauty and simcha of Yiddishkeit. It is only if we could give them that passion that we could really expect sheniyeh anachnu v'tzetzuenu v'tzetzoi tzetzuenu. And when a person is sameach, it is contagious. It should be contagious, and it has to be obvious and evident. The Gemara tells a story in Brochas Daf Tesom mit Beis. Omelei ule le Rav Eloi. Ula asked Rav Eloi, two great Ameron, Ki ailes lahosam shul b'shalme de Rav Broina ochi. You're going to Eretz Yisrael, look for my brother Rav Broina and give him my best regards. Adam Godel hu v'sameach b'mitzvahs. He is a great man, and he is sameach b'mitzvahs. Pam achad somach geula letvula v'loi posek chuka mapu mei kule yoyma. He once was samach geula letvula, and he laughed all day. He was happy. He was smiling all day. Interesting. Let's try to imagine we're walking on the street and somebody we know very well is coming across the other way and he has a big smile on his face. And I tell you the story because many years ago a friend came over to me and he told me, you don't see yourself, but you're laughing, you're smiling, and you look strange, so don't do it. So since then I try not to do it. So we walk on the street and somebody is coming across. And he has a big, big smile. And we say, are you the one that won the lottery? 50 million lottery yesterday. He says, never bought a ticket. I'm not a gambler. I don't buy lotteries. So, did you do a shidduch with your daughter? No. You seem to be very happy. And he says, oh yeah, I said Tillim this morning and it was great. I think that most of us will just stand there and think to ourselves, he needs help. Maybe we know a psychologist, a frum psychologist that could help him out. But that is an Adam Godel. That is exactly how Ula describes his brother, Rav Broina. Adam Godel hu v'sameach b'mitzvot. Pam achad somach ge'ula letvila v'loi posek chukim epumei kula yoyma. He was happy all day. So his simcha radiated. It was obvious. And a similar story we find in Manochas Daf Yud Ches regarding Simchas HaTorah. Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua, one of the great Rabboseinu Shebedorim, disciples of Rabbi Kiva ben Yosef. Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua was in Beis HaMedrash and he was giving a shiur and a question came up and somebody said a great chiddush, Tzavu ponov shel Yosef HaBavli. And Yosef HaBavli, one of the Talmidim, his face radiated simcha. Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua looks at his Talmud, and at his tremendous simcha of Torah, v'zolgu einov demois, he was moved to tears of gratitude, of excitement. Zolgu einov demois, v'amar ashreichem talmidei chachamim shedivrei Torah chavivim aleichem b'yosom. Kora olav es hapasuk hazeh mu'ahavti sorosacho kol hayoyim hisichos. So what we learn from these two Gemaras, that when you are happy, b'simchas HaTorah, b'simchas HaMitzvah, it should radiate, it should be obvious, it should be evident, it should be contagious. And then your children will see and witness, and they will wish to follow. Why do I say this? I remember as a young bocher, we had a mashgiach that came to the yeshiva. I don't want to sound negative or critical, but sometimes I just say what I feel. And I remember he was giving a shmuz about Simchas HaTorah. And he went on and on that there is no simcha but Simchas HaTorah. And I thought to myself, if he's teaching us about simcha, how come he never smiles? He never smiles. He is always nervous and agitated, and he always has a frown on himself. So if he's teaching us about simcha, how come he never smiles? When Yosef HaBavli was nana from a Dvar Torah, Tzavu Ponov Shel Yosef HaBavli. And when Rav Broina, who was an Adam Godel, V'samach Geula Letvila Leposek Chukam Apumei Kileyoyma, simcha must radiate. And in the chinuch of our children, they must feel that a Ben Torah is the happiest man in the world. And the home of a Ben Torah is the happiest home in the world. Because children need simcha. Like a flower turns to the sun, yearning for the warmth of the sun, children turn to simcha and to warmth. And if they won't find it at home, they will look for it elsewhere. So it is of the greatest importance Simcha should be part of our homes, of our families, and especially Simcha associated with Torah and with Mitzvah. Ba'ahava uvechemra. Let me share with you one additional thought that I said Shabbos in Los Angeles, because I think it's extremely important. So this week we start Chumash Vayikra. After Shabbos we read the last parsha of Chumash Shemos. Second part of Chumash Shemos deals with the Mishkan and Keilav, and Chumash Vayikra is Avodas Sefer Toras HaKoyanim. Klei HaMikdash, the three central Keilim. The entirety of Avodas HaMikdash centers around three Keilim. Menorah, Mizbeach, and Shulchan. All the others were supplementary. Klei HaMikdash keneged ma? Obviously, the three pillars of the world. Al shloishet dvarim u'olam oimed al ha'Torah al ha'avodah al gemilas chasodim menorah es Torah. I could go on for an hour just quoting Mamura Chazal that menorah has a kesher with Torah. Ki ner mitzvah v'Torah. Mizbeach obviously is avodah is a karbonis, and then the davening. Chavava mit beizem esechet broches tfilos keneged karbonis tiknu. So if menorah takes Torah, Mizbeach avodah, obviously the shulchan is chesed. Because in Chagiga Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, Shulchan Shalodam Mechaper Kemizbeach, and Tosfos explains, Shulchan is Achnos HaSorcha, in Gemilas Chasodim. In Kodesh HaKodoshim, what do we have? Aroina Eidos, the Kaporos, and Shnei Kruvim. What were those Kruvim? They were winged. That's the pasuk. Parsei knafayim lamala. But the pasuk doesn't say what their faces were like, and that's a Gemara in Bava Basra Tzadik Tet. The faces of little children. Tinoik v'tinoikes. So the Kruvim on one hand demand to soar. Wings indicate flight. The aspiration to fly and to soar and come ever closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should be as lofty as the angels and as pure as little children. Tinik v'tanoikes sheloi tamu tam chet. The Seforno gives additional insight to the Kruvim, and he says, Parsei knafayim lamala is mitzvah shebenodam lamakoy, indicating, look up to the heavens. As we find in the Mishnah Rosh Hashanah Chav Tes, V'hoyo kashe yora Moshe es yoda v'gova Yisrael, kashe aniach Moshe es yoda v'gova Amalek, and the Mishnah asks, V'chiyodav shel Moshe oisois melchamo, shovrot melchamo, b'zman she Yisrael mishabdem libo, melaviam shebeshamayim, hoyo noitzchu. So when Moshe lifts his hands, that is to call to Klal Yisrael, lift your hearts, lift your eyes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The same is with the Kruvim, Parsei knafayim lamala, v'pnei mishalochev, b'mitzvah shebenodom l'chaveru. Soar to the heavens, but don't forget your fellow Jews. Look at them, see them, feel them, care about them. Where else do we find the combination of Parsei knafayim lamala v'pnei mishalochiv? What an Eretz Yisrael every day. In Baltimore, only Yom Tov. Berachas Koyanim. The Koyanim have to turn around and face the people, see the people. V'noisim kapayim lamala. It is only then that we are fitting for Berachas Hashem, for the blessing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it is only then the Koyanim have the koyach and the ability to bestow upon Klal Yisrael the brachas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Parsei knafayim lemala, b'mitzvah shebenodem l'chaveru, u'fenei mishalochiv ba'ahava, b'mitzvah shebenodem l'chaveru. It is only if we could give our children the passion mitzvah sheben adam lamokum, and the compassion, the mitzvah sheben adam lachaveiroi, that will be the shleimus of our chinuch. The combination of posek nofayim lamala, a passion of Torah, of simchas ha-Torah and simchas ha-mitzvah, and the compassion for each and every of our brethren, each and every fellow Yid. See them, care about them, and feel their needs, hear the cries of their desperation. It's a big schus for me to be with you tonight and to share with you these thoughts and feelings. So before we say goodbye, in a few hours I am off flying to Mexico for a day of chizuk and arbotzes Torah. Let me wish each and every one of you, of the members of this community, you should have nachas from your children. I was extremely impressed by the young boys I met in the yeshivas today. I was scheduled to visit many moistes chinuch, but due to the weather conditions, the plans have changed. Maybe next time, Be'ezus Hashem. So I hope we shall all have nachas from our children, because that is the most cherished asset we have, the most precious of the gifts HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, is our children. What was the last tefillah of David HaMelech? Ne'im Zmiros Yisroel. What was his last bakosh? Obviously, in Kapitel Ayin Beis in Tehillim, Kolu Tfilos David ben Yishai. What is the first pasuk in Kapitel Ayin Beis? Elokim. Mishpotecho lemelech tein, v'tzidkoscho leven melech. Rashi says, if you have any midas adin, please give it to me. V'tzidkoscho, the rachamim, give to my children. And that is the eternal bakosh of every Jewish father and every Yiddish mama. We care about nothing more than we care about our cherished children. So there is no greater endeavor that we have than our children. And sometimes, we are so busy with our business and other things that we neglect our children. And we always regret it. So, spend time with your families. Look after your children. Nothing is more precious and more important than they are. You should have nachas from your children. We should all have nachas, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should have nachas from His children. We are His children. And we call and daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a father, Ovinu Malkeinu. Obviously, He wants nachas as well. What is His nachas? That's a Gemara. Ashrei Misha Molei B'Torah V'Oiseh Nachas Ruach Liyotzei. That is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's nachas. So if you will have nachas from our children, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have nachas from His. And let me wish you all Hatzlacha and Shefa and good health and Erichas Yamim V'Shanim. And Bekorav B'Yomeinu, in the schus of Talmud Torah, we shall all be zeicha to the great simcha of Klal Yisrael. Be'bias Goyal Tzedek and Binyan Beis Hamikdash B'mheiro V'Yomeinu Amen.